I'm Christie Elan-Cane and I'm non-gendered. I'm fighting to achieve legal recognition and social visibility as a person of non-gendered identity, and I'm fighting for equality of treatment as accorded the privileged gendered majority within the gendered societal structure. The common belief and perceived truth in Western culture is that everyone is either male or female, and that is wrong, because we are all physiologically on a human continuum with stereotypically drawn images of male and female, what have become our recognised and socially accepted gendered roles at opposite ends of the continuum. And we are all, in fact, occupying a place somewhere along the human continuum, and we are all intersex to a certain degree. And socially, the way we identify, our core identity, has traditionally been focused on the basis of gendered identity. Everyone is gendered, either male or female, and that also is wrong. Most people can accept the gendered role appropriated around the time of birth, stated as though fact on the birth certificate. It is now recognised that many other people cannot, and commonly accepted that some people are transsexual, identifying with the other gendered role as opposed to the role appropriated to them. What is less known and rarely acknowledged is that for some people, myself included, neither of the two socially accorded, appropriated gendered roles are representative of the core identity. We are non-gendered human beings in a gendered societal structure that fails to acknowledge, let alone accommodate, our human existence and fails to recognise our identities as valid human identity. We are denied legitimate existence. We are denied an identity. And we are routinely forced to collude in our own social invisibility in order that we can function and survive within gendered society, due to lack of societal awareness, ignorance, and complete and total lack of provision. Non-gendered people are an unseen, unrecognised group of human beings. Our lack of social visibility, our lack of legal recognition means we have no statutory protection from discrimination, which comes in all formats, because the whole legislative system remains bound within gendered terminology. Legally, we do not exist. I feel I've waited all my life to be given the right to exist as a person within my core identity, even though during the earlier parts of my life I was also indoctrinated into the gendered societal structure and falsely believing there were no real alternatives, and that everyone was either male or female. It was through my own experience that I was able to educate myself. My research and findings since I became a politically active campaigner in trying to raise awareness of this issue and change the societal attitude has been there are many, many more people in the United Kingdom and around the world who do not define themselves as gendered. And other human identities are recognised in some parts of the world. India, Pakistan and Nepal, for instance, where it is possible to obtain the correct documentation and where provision exists to accommodate. Right now, the UK government are about to undertake a series of measures, a government action plan, to promote greater social equality and hopefully to improve the lives of the United Kingdom trans population. I'm pleased to be involved with what could become a truly groundbreaking initiative and a seismic shift in new thinking. I've put forward and argued the point over many issues that blight the lives and the life chances of the socially invisible non-gendered population, who are marginalised even when compared with the broader trans population, and I'm afraid to say, even by some within the trans population, who regard us as a threat for some reason. But most people, trans and non-trans thankfully, have not expressed those views. I've raised the issue of civil partnerships, that non-gendered cannot register a partnership or enter into a marriage without compromising our core identity. I've argued there should be a legal process where non-gendered people can sign a statutory declaration document and formally renounce a misappropriated gendered role, and that this gender-neutral document can be used from that point onwards for all purposes where a birth certificate would normally be required. I've campaigned for some time to change the detail on my passport and get rid of an inappropriate gendered reference, which is possible under an international agreement, as defined by the International Civil Aviation Organization, the UN agency that sets the international standards for machine-readable passports. It is possible, for instance, in New Zealand, for a non-gendered citizen to obtain a passport without an inappropriate gendered reference. So why not here? Because the UK Identity and Passport Service policy is that everyone, all UK passport holders, should remain gendered, even when we are not. I'm arguing for the removal of inappropriate requirements to state a gendered role in the provision of goods and services, unless a non-gender specific third option is provided. And there is no need for the private sector to demand a gendered role in the supply of goods and services. The effect is denial of access to goods and services for those who cannot answer this inappropriate and offensive question. And many industries within the private sector are guilty of discrimination against non-gendered human beings, where access to goods and services is withheld, most obviously from the financial services industry, where the application process for certain products requires a gendered role, but many online facilities across a whole wide range cannot be accessed unless the user identifies within a gendered role, although some, such as YouTube, can be circumnavigated. But where the purpose is identity, documentation, passports for example, and mainly areas within the public sector, I feel it is important to retain the question and provide a third, non-gender specific option. Otherwise, the issue of human identity outside the gendered societal structure will be swept under the carpet and non-gendered human beings will remain socially invisible. We will continue to be denied access to not only goods and services, but healthcare that's appropriate to our needs, education and jobs. We will continue to be forced to use gendered public bathroom facilities, even when it should be possible and it is desired to adopt a different design model comprising single cubicles, standard sized but big enough to accommodate washing facilities inside the cubicle, essentially a smaller version of what is already in place for disabled users, to be used by non-gendered and gendered, without fear and without risk of confrontation. In 2002, there was a ruling at the Strasbourg European Court of Human Rights. The court considered that society might reasonably be expected to tolerate a certain inconvenience to enable individuals to live in dignity and worth. The case against the United Kingdom concerned 2 UK transsexual appellants, but the court decision could now equally be applied to non-gendered people. We represent an inconvenience in a gendered societal structure where the entire legislative framework and social infrastructure and corporate computer systems are centred towards the maintenance and the upholding of the gendered roles, a societal structure based upon the false precept, the false belief that everybody is gendered. And nothing will be of benefit without non-gendered visibility, but visibility will not be achieved if the governing authority's solution is just to seek some kind of blurring of the gendered roles on paper with possibly well-intentioned initiatives that have the effect of sweeping the issue under the carpet. We are equal as human beings, and there is no shame attached to our identities. The privileged gendered majority within society should not be treating us in this shameful way, and one day in the future a more civilized society will regard our treatment here in the present day as shameful. I want to be able to acknowledge my identity and have my identity acknowledged in every situation and receive the level of respect for my right to be here as accorded to a gendered person. I do not want my disclosure met with embarrassment, incomprehension and ignorance. Leaders of democratic governments in the West are often prone towards lecturing the governments of more repressive regimes in other parts of the world about human rights issues, but to suggest we are living in a true and civilized democracy is disingenuous hypocrisy when non-gendered human beings are condemned to social exclusion and invisibility due to lack of moral courage to make a change. The societal exclusion of non-gendered human beings is morally indefensible and it is wrong. Equal treatment, equal rights, no excuses, no more lies. Thank you for listening, and remember, the denial of existence is the worst act of discrimination by the gendered majority against the non-gendered.